All right, welcome back. Hello. This is another adventure of math. Yeah, that's all I got. Math. Okay, so at this point, Mr. Brown should have handed out Math Blast number 10 to everyone. On that piece of paper, you have the number correct that you got. I'm going to go through this one here and show you how I did it. We're going to take a couple of notes. Yep. And then we're going to do another Math Blast. So I want to give you that other Math Blast. So let's start. Everyone has this out in front of them. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to try and go pretty slow. And I'm going to explain exactly what I'm doing as I go through this. All right? And hopefully you can see this, no problem. So when we have a 15 minus 21, all right, what I do in my head is, since they're different sides, I subtract. All right, so 21 minus 15, the difference between the two is 6, and the bigger number is a negative, so it becomes a negative 6. Negative 4 minus a negative 7, that turns into a plus 7. All right, that plus 7, a negative 4, and a positive 7, you end up with a positive 3. 6 times 4 is 24. Negative times a negative is a positive. Positive 29 minus 25 minus 21 is a positive 4. 15 times 2 is 30. Positive times a negative is a negative. You with me on that? All right, I can go slower, I can go faster. Negative 2.5 minus 2.5, they're both negative, so the answer is more negative. The same sign, I add. 2 plus 2 is 4, half and a half is 1, 4 plus 1 is 5. 49 divided by 7 is 7, negative divided by a negative is a positive. Negative 13 minus a negative 7, minus a negative, a double negative turns to positive. Negative 13 plus 7, subtract, and get a negative 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Positive times a negative is a negative. Negative 20 times a half. In my mind, I say, what's half of 20? And that's 10. A negative times a negative is a positive. All right, let me move that up one. All right, 25 divided by 5 is 5. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Negative 1 plus 13 is a positive 12. Negative 8, that turns to plus 8, is 0. Negative 8 plus 8, they're opposites. Negative 12 divided by 2 is a 6. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. Negative 67 plus a negative 19, they're the same sign. We add. 67 plus 19. In my mind, I take one away and I make this 66 and I make this 20. All right, and that becomes a quick 86. That's how I do it in my mind. That's Common Core math. Excellent, I love Common Core. 66 plus 20 is 86, negative, and a negative is a bigger negative. 64 divided by 2 is 32. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Negative 16 minus 5. Same sign, add. Becomes 21, and that's negative. Negative 10 plus a negative 7. Same sign, both negatives, I add to get bigger negative, a bigger negative, which is 17, negative 17. Negative 9 times a negative 5. 9 times 5 is 45. Negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 25 and a negative 8 is a negative 33. All right, that is what we should be looking for on a Math Blast. Understanding what we're doing and going from there. Okay? I did not put this grade in the grade book. What I want to do is look at that grade and get that grade up to 20 out of 20. I want 20 numbers correct. So, what I want to do is give you how I would do this in my brain. I just walked you through it. Let's get out our math notebooks. And if you need to pause here, Mr. Brown, you may. But the one thing I've always been saying is that arithmetic is super important. Right now we're doing parabolas. We're doing parabolas, Mr. Brown, and you probably haven't ever used a parabola in your life. Well, you know what? Because nobody does. But since this is YouTube and other people in the real world are going to see this, some people do. What I'm saying is that that parabola is not as important as understanding how to get to that parabola. If I give you y equals x minus 4 squared plus 0, I can plug in a number in here and I have to do my arithmetic correctly. And that's why we're going back to basics for these signed numbers. Signed numbers, and today is the 21st. Okay? If I go too fast, you can always pause it, rewind it, whatever. All right, when we are multiplying or dividing, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, if I have a negative times a negative, it equals a positive. All right, do you understand that? Does that make sense? A negative times a negative is a positive. The reason being was, well, because a positive times a positive, well, we know that that equals a positive. Same holds true for division. We could just as easily say division. It's the same rule. All right? So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. That opposes negative times a positive equals a negative. Or a positive times a negative equals a negative. And the same holds true for division. All right? So for even numbers, even number of product values, I don't know what I'm saying here. Definitely planned this out. The answer is positive. If you have an odd number of, now I would say product inputs, how about that? Inputs. Oh, everyone's complaining right now. Oh, I scribbled that out. Oh, what a jerk. I already wrote that. Yeah, tough. Odd number of product inputs, the answer is negative. All right? Just old school stuff that we should already know. If we don't, this is just another way to kind of cement it in our brains. All right? That's multiplying or dividing. That's the easy part. We just have to remember it. We have a 3-step system for combining. Combining is adding or subtracting. All right? You can combine two things by subtraction, believe it or not. I'll show you how. I know it doesn't make sense. Just trust me. All right, so combining. You can do it a couple of ways. All right? You can draw a picture of a number line. And you can say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4, right? You can do that number line, and I've seen you guys do that. So a 3 minus 7 starts here and goes scoop, doop, doop, blast, 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 blast. 3 minus 7 equals a -4. Now you can do that. You can also just as easily draw a picture of a thermometer, and you can say 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I could say negative 2 plus 5 starts at negative 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that equals 3. Those are visual ways to do this. What I do is I write a rule, and I say if they are different signs, a negative 2 and a positive 5, they're different signs, you subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. Different signs. 7 minus 3 is 4. And take the sign of the bigger number. Negative is bigger. Positive is bigger. That's my rule. All right? My rule is if you have different signs, then you subtract. And take the sign of the larger number. So, if you have different signs, you subtract and take the sign of the larger number. An example would be negative 12 plus 4 equals, well, 12 minus 4 is 8. The bigger number is negative. If I have a 17 minus 3, well, that's a positive 17, that's a negative 3. I subtract, and I get 14, and the bigger sign is positive. Okay, you with me on that? Step 2, or another possible, is if you have the same signs, then you add and take the sign of the numbers. Hopefully you can read that. I know it's not the best handwriting. All right, those are my 2 steps. There is another one, but those are the 2 main ones. All right, so step 3. If you're subtracting a negative, all right, which looks like a negative 1 minus a negative 3. All right, so that's what we're talking about. The double negative turns into a positive. So a negative 1 minus a negative 3, a double negative turns into a positive. And then you go back up here to step 2. No, step 1, because they're different signs. And then you subtract. And then do step 1 or 2. So a double negative, you guys are fans of saying, it don't not work. Well, that means it works. There's some other ones that you Lamoille kids say all the time. What is it? I can't think of any. This video's not as funny. I'll try harder next time. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. I want to go home. Okay, those are your 3 steps. negative 3 minus 4. Same sign. Same sign equals add. 3 plus 4 is 7, negative and a negative, that makes it a negative 7. 4 minus a negative 3. Oh, that turns into 4 plus 3 equals 7, positive. Ah, all right? We're going to practice this. Have this in front of you. Have this page in front of you and actually use it. All right, unless you wanted to use these things, but I suggest using the rules. I know Dale likes rules. He's a rule follower. Dylan is a rule breaker. That's also an option. You could break the rules and make your own. All right? So, what I want Mr. Brown to do is to hand out the Math Blast level 10. Oh no, level 11. So he's going to pass out 11. You're going to take it. You're going to have as much time as you want. Okay? You're going to pause this video, and then when everyone's done, you're going to unpause the video and watch me, and you're going to grade yourselves. Now, you can also, while they're taking that quiz, Mr. Brown, while they're taking that math class, you can also hand out the graphing calculators, all right? And you can have students trying to plug in some equations into the graphing calculator and get out a parabola. All right, hopefully everyone heard that. When you're done with your math blast, have a graphing calculator out in front of you that he will hand out and start playing around with putting in equations to get out a parabola. Okay? All right, pause it now. Okay, welcome back. All right, it's the same video, I haven't stopped. What I have to do is I'm going to show you how I would do Math Blast number 11, and you have this out in front of you, and we're going to go through this. I'm going to go through it quick. You're going to correct yourself. You're going to put the number correct up here. You're going to correct the ones that were wrong. You're going to hand it in to me. So Mr. Brown's going to collect this. All right, and I'm not grading it. I want to see your work. Okay? So, 18 minus 21. The bigger sign is a negative. They're different signs, so I subtract and get 3. 21 minus 18 is 3. Negative 8 minus a negative 7 turns to plus 7. All right? Let me zoom in on that, by the way. All right? These are now different signs, so I subtract, and 8 minus 7 is 1, and take the sign of the bigger number. 8 times 4 is 32. Negative times a negative is a positive. 25 minus 21, obviously those are two different signs, so I subtract and get a 4. All right, my answer is positive. 15 times 2 is 30. Positive times a negative is a negative. All right. Negative 2.7 minus 2.5, same sign. I add to get to 5.2. Yeah, that's a tough one. Do 27 and 25, and the answer is negative. 42 divided by 7 is 6. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Negative 13 minus a negative 7. Step 3 has you add them. Negative 13 plus 7 you subtract to get 6, and that is a negative. 7 times 4 is 28. Positive times a negative is a negative. 20 times 3 is 60. Negative times a negative is a positive. Moving up. Leave it right there for you. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Negative 1 plus 13. The answer is going to be positive. 13 minus 1 is 12. Negative 8 minus a negative 8. That turns to plus. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. Negative 67 plus a negative 19. Oh, look at that. Some of these are the same darn problems. These, same sign, we add. Whoops, that's a plus sign. we end up with a negative because we add them and get a negative. This I'm going to take one of these and add it to this, so this becomes 20, this becomes 66. All right, take one away here and put it on that. 66 plus 20 is 86. Common Core, baby. Yeah, by the way, a janitor just came in and changed out all the trash. You probably heard it, and thinks I'm crazy because he doesn't see the camera. But them's life. 48 divided by 2. Half of 40 is 20. Half of 8 is 4. 24. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Negative 17 minus 5. Answer is negative. Add them. Get 22. 10. 7. Negative 17. 12 times 5 is, 50, 60. Negative, negative, positive. Negative 25 minus 8. Bigger negative, 33. Boom. That is Math Blast number 11. Check your work. Where's the top? Oh. Check your work. Put the number correct at the top. Correct yourself. All right? And then Mr. Brown will collect those. We can also file away Math Blast number 10, but I don't think Mr. Brown has access to it, so don't do it. Just kidding. I was kidding. Don't file that away. Yeah, we will file Math Blast 10 away when I come back on Thursday. Okay? All right. So we got notes, we got Math Blast 11. Everyone should have right now, graphing calculators out. What I want you to do, if you can hear me, you can hear me? Okay, now I'm back. So, graphing calculators are out and on. What you're going to be doing with your notebooks out, and I skipped a page, dang it. And your notebooks out with graphing calculator usage. What you're going to be doing is using, ooh look, graphing calculator and doing problems and looking for a pattern. So, Mr. Brown hopefully, or didn't yet, but is now passing out pattern recognition. There are 6 problems, all right, that I want you to graph, and then some follow-up stuff on the back. The problems, you can do this problem using a table. You can plug that function in to the table menu, all right, going to menu, going to table, hitting enter, having that function in here, which is x squared minus 4x. Plugging in that function into this table, all right, executing, and there's my table of values. I can come in here and I can draw my crosshairs on this thing. I can draw crosshairs like that, and I'm going to draw crosshairs like this. I suggest pencil here, gang-a-lang. All right, Brittany knows where they are. They're up in the cabinet. All right, I'm sure there's a bunch left in there. Yeah, she's shaking her head right now because there are none. She used them all and never replenished them. Anywho, those are my crosshairs. I can plug these values in. 2, negative 4. Positive 2, negative 4. Boom. 3, negative 3. 1, negative 3. 4, 0. I bet you 0, 0. And there's my parabola. All right, I could go one more. And I go negative 1, 5. and 4, 5. All right, there's my parabola. That is the table way. I could also go into this there we go. I could go into menu, and I can go into graph, execute, take that same function, execute, there's my parabola. The problem with seeing it like that is we don't know where the points are to graph it here. That's why I like the table. What we can do to look at that is we can trace it. All right? What you see, I was just pointing at the screen, by the way. What you see here is that little button that's called trace. If I hit that trace button, it then can move that cursor down to any point. And I can pick a point, like if I pick 0 on the x-axis. I meant 0 on the y-axis. 0 on the y-axis, all right, very close to 4. I could do that. I might want to zoom in, scoom. All right, you can zoom in on that, and then I can trace by hitting F1 and use the thumb pad to go up there and find 0 and 4. Whoops. 1 and 3.7. 3 and 3. Negative 3. 2 for the x. And 4 for the y. Negative 4 for the y. And then back up over here. Okay? So I can trace, it's not perfect, but I can trace that and get my x and y values. All right? Everyone with me on that? I can trace using the thumb button and move that cursor around. I'm looking at my x values being whole numbers and what the output y values are. All right? But if you wanted to, you could also go back to table, boom, shalak-a-lak. All right? And actually, it can put those points on here. I can still trace. Whoa. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's even better. Wow. I'm just hitting the thumb button. Oh, it just goes to the points. Wow, that's so much easier. Oh, I wish I knew that last year. But anyway, that's pretty cool. So, that's what you're going to be doing. You're using your graphing calculators if you choose to graph these parabolas. All right, all 6 of them, drawing them on here. Then you're looking at that function and we're looking for similarities. All right, how is this function similar to another function on here? How is number 1 similar to another function on here? All right, x squared plus 2x is very similar to x squared plus 2x plus 3. They have similarities. They also have differences. Okay, on the back, you're explaining to me what those similarities mean and what the differences mean. All right, you're making some rules for what you find as being similar and different. Okay? That should be enough for today. Yeah. Okay. Yep, just thinking. Wasn't a stroke. Was just thinking. All right. Any problems? Tough. Good luck. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow or the next day. Maybe the next. All right. That's it.